Liu Monghong charged with perverting public justice. Foreign domestic helper and toddler plunged to the deaths in Yaotong. And Egyptian authorities arrest the top leader of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Hello and a very good evening. The ICAC has charged Liu Monghong, the former vice chairman of Pearl Oriental Oil Limited and an ex-ally of Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying, with perverting public justice. Liu is accused of making requests to Leung and the ICAC Commissioner Simon Pei earlier this year to terminate a corruption probe against him and some other people. Jenny Lam reports.
Liu Monghong, who campaigned hard on Leung Chun-ying's behalf during last year's chief executive election, now faces a charge of doing acts tending and intended to pervert the course of public justice. In January this year, Liu allegedly sent emails to Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying and ICAC Chief Simon Pei seeking termination of an investigation on him and others. He is said to have also sent a letter to Leung, which was copied to Pei. Liu allegedly referred to his past dealings and association with Leung Chun-ying and tried to have the ICAC probe terminated by means of threat or intimidation. Court hearing will begin at Eastern Magistracy tomorrow morning. Liu was arrested by the ICAC in January as part of an investigation into Pearl Oriental Oil. In a magazine interview conducted after he was released on bail, Liu accused Leung Chun-ying of lying. The media later found out that Liu had written to Leung and Pei asking for a stop to the ICAC probe. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
A toddler and a foreign domestic helper fell to their death from a building in Yaotong this afternoon. Police say there is nothing to suggest a dispute between the Indonesian helper and her employer. Rachel Leung reports.
Police were called to Kuching Court in Yaotong at around 2 p.m. They found the body of the 32-year-old Indonesian helper on the ground floor podium. No one answered the door at the 19th floor flat from where the woman is believed to have fallen out of a kitchen window. Officers broke in after an hour, and when they looked out of the window, they discovered the body of a 1.5-year-old boy on the first floor podium.
The place where they fell is the location where the washing was hung out, and it would appear from the scene the washing had just recently been brought in. But whether there was an accident or whether there was some foul play, we're still investigating.
According to the police, the helper and the child were alone in the flat at the time, and officers have ruled out involvement of anyone else. They will investigate whether this was an accident, a suicide, or any other possible causes. The Indonesian maid who fell to her death has been working with the family since July last year, and police say there's no indication of any dispute between the helper and her employer. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
Chong Heng Bank has filed a writ with the High Court asking former Secretary for Chief Administration Raphael Hui to repay more than $9.8 million in credit card loans. The bank is the third creditor suing Hui over outstanding loans since April. It's seeking repayment within 40 days plus interest and lawyers' fees. Hui is entangled in a corruption case involving top executives of Sun Hung Kai Properties. Earlier, the Bank of East Asia sought repayment of $60 million from Hui, and a subsidiary finance company of Sun Hung Kai also wanted more than $3 million repaid.
Turning overseas now, British authorities say the decision to detain the partner of the reporter who helped Edward Snowden expose the extent of US and UK spying activities was legally sound. UK police are being accused of misusing their powers by holding David Miranda for 9 hours at a London airport last Sunday.
British authorities are under pressure to explain themselves after last Sunday's detention of the Brazilian partner of Glenn Greenwald, the Guardian newspaper reporter who helped Edward Snowden expose US and UK spying activities. David Miranda is back in Brazil now and reunited with Greenwald, but he had to endure 9 hours of detention at London's Heathrow Airport. British police used anti-terror legislation to justify the move, but a leading UK lawyer has questioned the whole thing.
Why was it necessary to keep him for as long as 9 hours? Because that's extremely unusual. You're looking at no more than a very few dozen people a year who are kept for that length of time.
Miranda was returning to Brazil from Berlin and was due to catch a connecting flight in London when he was stopped in the transit zone.
Why was it that they wanted to question him? The police are only allowed to ask questions aimed at determining whether somebody is a terrorist. Is that what they thought, and if so, on what basis?
The White House tried to distance itself from the whole thing, saying it had not asked the British government to question Miranda, although it added officials in London had given their counterparts in Washington a heads up before detaining him. Meanwhile, just to illustrate how desperate British authorities were to contain the Snowden leaks, The Guardian says the UK government threatened it with legal action unless it destroyed the classified material or handed them over to authorities. The paper says UK Secret Service agents even oversaw the destruction of a number of the newspaper's hard drives, just to make sure the files were actually destroyed. It's not clear exactly when the incident occurred.
On Friday marks the third anniversary of the Manila tour bus hostage tragedy, in which 8 Hong Kong people were killed. Although the Philippine authorities have stepped up security in the capital city since then, they have yet to regain the confidence of Hong Kong travellers. Jenny Lam reports.
Rizal Park in Manila is once again a favourite tourist destination today. The visitors, among them Chinese people, seem unaware of the events here that scarred Hong Kong 3 years ago. The exact spot where gunman Rolando Mendoza killed 8 Hong Kong tourists is a relatively quiet corner of the park. Security around the Philippine capital has significantly improved since then.
It's very important for us to go security check because nowadays we don't know what's currently happening. I mean, with what's happening with the Philippines, like the bombing and the robbery, it's very important to have security check.
According to Philippine Tourism Authority figures, the number of Hong Kong visitors to the country exceeded 65,000 during the first half of this year, an increase of more than 10% since last year, but nowhere near what it was before the hostage crisis. A diplomacy consultant believes a formal apology is the only way to regain Hong Kong visitors' confidence.
I don't see any reason why we should apologize for what happened in Taiwan and not apologize for what happened in Hong Kong.
For 3 years, families who lost their loved ones here have been seeking an apology from the Philippine government for what they say was negligence.
台湾移民事件呢
Zhuang Qianjun, a Chinese business leader here, says the government is unable to do so for political reasons. But he hopes the shooting will not be mixed up with the shooting death of a Taiwanese fisherman by the Philippine Coast Guard earlier this year, for which the government did apologize. And he believes the new mayor of Manila, former President Joseph Estrada, may be able to offer that apology Hong Kong is seeking. The victims' families say they will continue to ask for an apology from the Philippine government. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Egyptian authorities have arrested the top leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, the group which supports ousted President Mohamed Morsi. It's been seen as an escalation in a sweeping crackdown on Morsi's supporters, a campaign which has left hundreds dead.
Egypt's interim government upped the ante in its crackdown on supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood. Today, authorities arrested the Brotherhood's top leader Mohamed Badi, who was detained at a flat in Nasser city around Cairo. Images of Badi were shown prominently on state television in an apparent move to humiliate him and weaken the Islamist group. Badi had been wanted by authorities ever since the overthrow of Morsi. He faces charges of inciting violence and murder over the killing of 8 anti-Morsi demonstrators outside the Brotherhood's headquarters in June. His arrest comes only days after his son Ammar was shot dead during last week's bloody crackdown on Morsi's supporters in Cairo. It's not just Badi. Hundreds of other members of the Brotherhood have been detained since authorities moved in to crush the group last week. The violence was the worst since the fall of Hosni Mubarak in 2011, and days of chaos in Egypt's main cities left at least 900 people dead. The United States has admitted it can only do so much to help Egypt help itself.
This is a very complicated problem. We continue to work with all the parties to try to help as much as we can, facilitate a reconciliation, a stop of the violence. Our ability to influence the outcome in Egypt is limited.
And speaking of Mubarak, lawyers for the former president have expressed confidence he could be released from prison soon. One corruption charge has already been dismissed, and now his team is waiting to see if he still needs to be held in custody for the other charges. He faces a retrial for corruption and complicity in the deaths of protesters during the 2011 uprising, which ended in his removal from power after 30 years. But Morsi's troubles are just beginning, with Egyptian prosecutors adding an extra 15 days detention while they investigate fresh allegations against him.
The United States and China have agreed to expand military exchanges and exercises as part of efforts to build more stable ties. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel and his Chinese counterpart Chang Wanchuan spelled out plans this year for senior American officers to visit China and counter piracy drills near Somalia. There are also plans to conduct a joint humanitarian rescue exercise near Hawaii. Last night's announcement came amid ongoing tensions over cybersecurity in arguments with U.S. allies in Asia. And still ahead in the news. A committee to map out plans to help recycling industries. Taxi drivers call on police to better handle demonstrators. And the first photos of Prince George.
Welcome back. The son of disgraced Chinese politician Bo Xilai is urging mainland authorities to grant his father a fair trial. In an article in the New York Times, Bo Guagua claims he's been denied contact with his parents for the past 18 months. He urges Chinese authorities to give his father a fair trial by allowing Bo Xilai to defend himself. The son was also quoted as saying, "If my well-being has been bartered for my father's acquiescence or my mother's further cooperation, then the verdict will clearly carry no moral weight." Reports suggested earlier that Bo's wife, Gu Kailai, might also be a witness for the prosecution and that she may have already turned over evidence against her husband.
And back locally, a new government committee looking into developing the city's recycling system will meet for the first time this week, and it will be chaired by Acting Chief Executive Carrie Lam. And already those who've been pushing for better recycling have plenty of ideas on what needs to be done. Reduction of waste at source might have been the logical step to resolve Hong Kong's brimming landfill issues all along, but it took the failed expansion plans to make it happen. Speaking before the weekly Executive Council meeting, the acting chief executive said the new committee to develop the city's recycling system will muster the forces of 7 government bureaux. It's believed issues such as budget increases and how to monitor and support the industry will be on the table when everyone meets on Friday. It's understood that no grassroots organizations will be involved in the first stage of discussions. An environment professor says Hong Kong has a very primitive recycling system because the government has always seen it as a business rather than public service.
The government needs to look into recycling industry that this is not a normal industry. So it's not just depending on the free market. So the government should chip in money, support for the recycler to do the initial collection and then initial processing.
Jackie Lau, president of Recycle Materials and Reproduction Business General Association, agreed that better support is needed. He raised the short-term land leases tendered to recyclers as an example, saying it's hard to invest in the industry when no one knows what will happen 5 years later. Legislators have also plenty to say about reducing the 13.5 tons of rubbish that go in the city's landfills every day. Environment Panel Chairwoman Sid Ho said she had earlier suggested the government put in $2 billion to create 10,000 jobs to do all the processing that's needed before recyclables can be made use of. Otherwise, a lot of the collected recyclables will just end up back in the landfill like they do now.
The government will come up with its definition of the poverty line by the end of September after the Commission on Poverty meets for the last time next Monday. Part of the aim is to look into how to give help to people living in subdivided units in industrial buildings through the Community Care Fund. Rachel Leung has the story.
Tenants of subdivided flats and private properties can apply for a one-off payment of between $3,000 and $8,000 from the Community Care Fund. But Mrs. Chong and her family, who live in this tiny space, do not qualify because their home is in a converted factory building that's no longer used for industrial purposes. That's discriminatory against those of us who live in old factory buildings, she says. To get to their flat, people living here have to walk along these wooden planks, put here to cover the pipes, and on a rainy day it would be hard not to get wet on the way home. It's families like Mrs. Chong's that the Commission on Poverty hopes to help. Acting Chief Executive Carrie Lam, who chairs the commission, said this morning that some residents of subdivided flats might not have benefited when the Community Care Fund previously provided help to low-income earners who are living in poor conditions. The Commission on Poverty will meet next Monday to look at a report and analyze the characteristics of people living below the poverty line. The government said earlier that the poverty line will be defined as half of the median household income. The exact definition will be announced at the end of September. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
Taxi drivers say the road closures during protests are affecting their business. They've called on the police to better handle protesters and stop demonstrations from snarling up traffic. Rani Samtani reports.
Tougher police enforcement and Stop the Occupy Central movement. These were the chants from taxi driver unionists who petitioned outside the police headquarters this afternoon. More than 30 taxi union representatives called on police to be stricter with protesters during public demonstrations. Drivers say the protests hinder their business as main roads have to be blocked for several hours for such events. This driver said many protesters don't stick to the areas cordoned off by police officers. He said on many occasions they have run onto the road or staged a sit-in in the middle of the road, which is dangerous and could cause accidents. Some drivers also accused rowdy protesters of tapping on their windows and cursing at them. During the July 1st rally, the police closed off 3 lanes of the main roads on the protest route. This caused a lot of disruption for drivers and created a buildup of traffic. The group later marched to the central government offices where they called on Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying to give frontline officers more recognition for their hard work and to encourage them to continue doing their job. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
All right, Tony, over to you for sports.
That's right, we've got exciting Premier League action and also a bit of weird and wonderful stuff in the world of sport. We'll get to that later. But first, English Premier League, and Manuel Pellegrini made it 3 for 3 in high-profile managerial debuts. Manchester City thrashed Newcastle 4-0 in a crowd-pleasing performance at home, and Jameson Wong has all the highlights.
Quick start for Manchester City as David Silva headed in the opener after 5 minutes. Sergio Aguero made it 2-0 in the 22nd minute. New manager Manuel Pellegrini probably thinking it can't be this easy, can it? Key play just before the break. Stephen Taylor has shown a straight red for the challenge. The visitors forced to play the entire second half with only 10 men. Yaya Touré added a stunning free kick 5 minutes after the restart to make it 3-0. And Sami Nasri completed the rout 4-0 the final. Runners-up in the Premier League last season, City giving their crosstown rivals and others lots to think about with the transfer window set to close in 2 weeks. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
Now, shades of Jim Marshall's wrong-way touchdown run in the NFL in 1964. That play is being called one of the most embarrassing moments in professional sports. Well, Marshall has company, and this happened in the Peruvian League. The player in red fired point-blank into his own goal, and the mistake was a costly one, as his team lost 1-0. Unlike 50 years ago, the player went on Twitter after the game to apologize for the own goal. Well, let's talk about basketball now, and he may be the most hated man in Los Angeles, but Houston Rockets center Dwight Howard was saying all the right things in Taipei, and some of it was in Putonghua. Take a look.
Taiwan, Ni Hao, Wai Jamilin.
Next month, Howard and the Rockets will play a preseason game against the Indiana Pacers in Taipei. The Houston Rockets center is also expected to visit Hong Kong as part of a promotional tour. Now, if Dwight Howard trying to speak Chinese wasn't strange enough, check this out. Colombian cliff diver Orlando Duque found a unique way to promote an upcoming diving event in the United States. With the Statue of Liberty as a backdrop, Duque fell from a helicopter and into the Hudson River. Not only that, he completed a flying back tuck, plummeting at speeds of more than 80 kilometers an hour. And Duque said he never thought he would have this opportunity.
And now, first a quick correction. Rafael Hoi's title while he was in the government should be the Chief Secretary for Administration. And finally for tonight, Britain's Prince William and his wife Kate have released the first official photos of their newborn son, Prince George. As Sonia Artero reports, a candid Prince William shared what it's like to be a father and plans for being a modern-day couple.
This snapshot features the royal couple posing with their son in the garden of Kate's family home in Bucklebury. And in this photo, the couple's Cocker Spaniel Lupo and the Middletons' family pet Tilly are featured as well. In his first interview since baby George's birth, William chided about his son being just like his brother, Prince Harry.
Well, yeah, he's a little bit of a rascal, let's put it that way. He does like to keep having his nappy changed, but he's a little fighter. He kind of he wriggles around quite a lot, and he doesn't want to go to sleep that much, which is a little bit of a problem.
Prince William said the day they showed their baby to the hungry media was a staged message to show they plan to raise George on their own.
I very much feel if I can do it myself, I want to do it myself. And there are times when you can't do it yourself and the system takes over or it's appropriate to do things differently. But I think driving your son and your wife away from hospital when they just had a born was really important to me.
Like most proud parents, the Duke of Cambridge said showing off their newborn to the world was truly their pleasure.
I think I was on such a high anyway, and so was Catherine, about George, that really we were happy to show him off to whoever wanted to see him.
And when it comes to raising George, William says mistakes are inevitable. It's putting in the effort to do it yourself that counts.
I'm just doing the way I know, and if it's the right way, then brilliant. If it's the wrong way, then well, I try and do it better.
While William enjoys caring for baby George, he said it's time to get back to work, joking it's a Prince George-free zone where he can finally catch up on his sleep. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
And that's the news for tonight.
Thanks for watching. Good night.
Good evening. It was mainly fine apart from some thundery showers today. At 5 p.m., showers were affecting the coastal areas of Guangdong. Today's temperatures ranged from 26.8 to 31.6 degrees, and the relative humidity was between 74 to 93%. A trace of rain has been recorded since midnight, and the current temperature is now 29.6 degrees Celsius. So, Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow? Hot with sunny periods and haze and a few thunderstorms later tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 27 to 32 degrees. It will be showery with a few squally thunderstorms in the following few days. Tomorrow's API is forecast at 30 to 105, and the air pollution level will range from medium to very high. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 8. And now to the latest global weather update. Showers in Shanghai and Xiamen, rain in Taipei. Cloudy in Guangzhou and Chengdu, bright in Macau. Cloudy in Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo. Thunderstorms in Bangkok, rain in Ho Chi Minh City and Manila. Showers in Kuala Lumpur, thunderstorms in Singapore, rain in Jakarta. Thunderstorms in New Delhi, showers in Karachi, rain in Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, showers in Nairobi. Sunny in Brisbane and Sydney, showers in Melbourne, rain in Auckland. Sunny in Toronto and New York. Sunny in Vancouver, cloudy in San Francisco, bright in Los Angeles. Cloudy in London and Frankfurt, sunny in Paris, Amsterdam, and Zurich. And that's the weather. Good night.